Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a 2028 prediction between AOC and JD Vance. Now, for those who don't know who AOC is, she is one of the more firebrand members of the Democrat Party. She has a lot of socialist ideals, kind of like Bernie Sanders, and she's seen as a rising star in the Democrat Party. So let's start off with the safe states for AOC. We have Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, Colorado, Vermont, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, DC, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Illinois, and Maine's 1st Congressional District, putting her safe states at 149. Now we're going to go to JD Vance's safe states. We have Alaska, Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska at large, along with Nebraska's 1st and 3rd Congressional Districts, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, and Iowa, putting his safe electoral votes at 201. Now let's go to the likely states for AOC and JD Vance. Starting off with AOC, the first likely state that I have for her is the state of New York. Now, for those who don't know, New York has become a lot more Republican than it used to be. New York only went for Harris by 12.6%. This is AOC's home state, but New York is trending a lot to the right. Look back at the 2020 election. Biden won the state by 23 points, but then 4 years later, Harris only won the state by 12 points. And also, it's going to be hard for AOC to reach out to more moderate voters. She's definitely seen as one of the more progressive Democrats, and that's going to help, and that's going to hurt her with the messaging to more moderate voters. And so I believe New York would be a likely state in this scenario. Another likely state that I have is the state of Maine. Now, Maine has been one of the more consistent liberal states. As you can see, it voted for Harris by about 7 points. In 2020, it voted for Biden by 9 points. So if you look at the shift relative to the nation, it did shift a little to the left. So I do believe it would probably stay about the same. Maine is definitely more socially democratic on a lot of social issues like abortion and LGBT rights. Maine is definitely like New Hampshire and Vermont, a lot more progressive. So I don't think AOC would hurt Maine's. So I don't think AOC would lose Maine or really coming close because Maine is very democratic. And so I'm going to put that in the likely margin. Another likely margin that I have is the state of. Now, I do want to pause for a second. A lot of this has to do with how Trump's term goes. Right now, he's a little underwater in his approval rating. Now, that definitely could change. So it's not going to be like the best scenario for JD Vance or the worst scenario for AOC. I did want to clear that up. That's what I'm saying. So now let's go to JD Vance's likely states. The first one that I have is the state of Arizona. Now, very surprisingly, Arizona did shift a lot to the right from this election. I think over 6 points, or about 6 points. It voted for Biden by 0.3%, but then for Trump by 5.5%. And Charlie Kirk's turning point action definitely had a lot to do with that. His organization knocked on doors, canvassed it, all of that, and it really helped Trump win Arizona. Of course, the border was also a big issue in Arizona politics, and Arizona definitely has been trending to the right. And so for that reason, I'm going to put it into the likely margin. Another likely margin that I have is the state of Another likely margin that I have is the state of Nevada. Now, Nevada has been a state that also has been trending to the right. If you go from 2020 to 2024, you see it voted for Biden by 2.4%, but then he voted for Trump by 3.1%. And there's a big problem the Democrats have in Nevada. Number one, they lost their voter advantage in Nevada. And number two, Clark County. So Clark County voted for Biden by 9.4%. As you can see in this map, Most of the state is Republican, but they don't have too much population. The big population centers are Clark County and Washoe County. Clark County, of course, has Las Vegas, and you can see how it has a lot of population. So yeah, it voted for Biden by 9.4%, but then 4 years later, it only voted for Harris by 2.6%, and that is very, very bad for Democrats. I cannot understate how bad that is, because this is a place where Democrats have to rank in the votes to offset the Republican votes in the northern part of Nevada. But because Clark County is trending to the right and Democrats are bleeding voters in Nevada, and Republicans are picking up voters and picked up voter registration lead, that's why I have Nevada as a likely state for J.D. Vance under this scenario. And then another likely margin that I have is the state of Maine. Now, not the state of Maine, but another likely margin I have is Maine's 2nd congressional district. Maine's 2nd congressional district voted for Trump by 9 points. I would say probably about that margin, maybe a little less or a little more. It's very rural, this part of Maine, and it's been traditionally Republican for a long time, so I don't see that changing. It could get bumped up to a safe margin, but for right now, I'm going to put it in the likely margin. Another likely margin I have is the state of Ohio. Now, Ohio has been a state that has trended to the right. As you see, it voted for Trump by about 11 points. The 4 years before that, it only voted for Trump by 8 points. And J.D. Vance is going to be the nominee. Now, I could see this being a safe margin. I don't know. I think I actually might bump it up to a safe margin just because J.D. Vance is from Ohio. He's going to have a lot of appeal in Ohio. So I think I'm actually going to put that in the safe margin. So that's it with the safe or likely margins for J.D. Vance. Let's go to the likely margins for, let's go to the lean margins, I should say, for AOC. The first lean margin I have is the state of New Mexico. Now, New Mexico has been trending to the right recently. It voted for Harris by 6 points, but 4 years before that, it only voted for Biden by 10 points. So that's a big shift to the right. And a big reason why New Mexico has become more competitive is because Hispanics have been turning to the right in New Mexico. Now, AOC, I think, would definitely have a trouble in New Mexico, because not only would she need to do well with Hispanic voters, she would have to do well with moderate suburban voters in New Mexico. And AOC's messaging, I don't think, would really appeal to New Mexico and the country as a whole, because she's definitely more hardline. She's kind of like the Marjorie Taylor Greene, but of the left. So I would probably put this in the lean margin. Another lean margin I would have is the state of Virginia. Virginia has trended to the right in recent years, voting for Harris by 5.8%. But I still don't see like J.D. Vance getting too close in Virginia, just because there's so much votes in the Nova area. It's really going to be really hard for Republicans to be able to offset the Nova part of Virginia. And for that reason, I would put it in the lean margin. Same with Minnesota. Minnesota is like one of those states where it's like impossible for Republicans to win. The last time, I think, in the presidential level that a Republican won, it was like 1972 or something like that, a really long time ago. Democrats have had a strong grip over this state, and they've done really well in Minneapolis and St. Paul and the suburbs of those big cities. And it's really overwhelmed the votes of the rural areas. And so, also it's very liberal, Minnesota, and I think that her messaging would definitely pander to that base, maybe drive up the base, but maybe alienate some moderate voters. And so for that reason, I would put it in the lean margin. And then I also have the state of New Jersey. I would put that in the lean margin. New Jersey had one of the biggest shifts from 2020 to 2024. It voted for Biden by about 16 points, but then it only voted for Harris by 6 points. Like, this state shifted so much to the right. Like, look at this map, and then 4 years later, boom. Passaic County went to Trump by 3 points, when 4 years before that, it went to Biden by over 16 points. So yes, it's trending to the right by a lot. But I still don't think that Republicans will be able to win the state. Number one, Democrats have over an 800,000 voter advantage in New Jersey. And number two, it's going to be hard to make up for these dark blue counties like Essex County, where Newark is, and where Trenton and all of these counties around them, they just produce so much Democrat vote that, yeah, maybe Ocean County can try to make up for it, but I don't think New Jersey is going to trend that far to the right like it did from 2020 to 2024. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in the lean margin. Now let's go to the and then I have one more lean margin, that's Nebraska's 2nd District, which is kind of self-explanatory. Nebraska's 2nd District has Omaha. It's been a very left-trending city, and I don't see too much changing with AOC being on the top of the ballot and not Harris. So I'm going to put that in the lean margin. Now let's go to the lean margins for JD Vance. First one I have is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania Democrats are really in trouble. Republicans are doing very well in voter registration, and they're really beating Democrats in ground game and canvassing. So Pennsylvania, I could see becoming an Ohio in like 8 years because Republicans are doing so well, and really they might even have a plurality of Republican voters by 2028. And so for that reason, I'm going to put that in the lean margin. Another lean margin that I have is North Carolina. North Carolina has been one of those states where it's so hard for Democrats to win. Trump won by 3.2%, and even in 2020, Trump narrowly won the state. And so I don't think North Carolina is going to trend too much to the left. Even though there's a lot of elected Democrats on the state level, I still think that J.D. Vance would be able to win this in 2028. And then the last lean margin I have is the state of Michigan. Now, yeah, AOC might be able to fire up the base in like Wayne County and the suburbs, but I think she might bleed in more of the exurban counties and maybe even some moderate voters in the suburbs. Like Oakland County and Washita County, she has to do very well in order to win the state. I think J.D. Vance would also have a pretty good appeal to rural voters in the state, and I'm going to put it in the lean margin for right now. And now we have the tilt margins. We have Wisconsin, Georgia, and New Hampshire. Now, Wisconsin and Georgia, these have been states that have really trended to the left. I'm pretty sure these were actually the closest states in terms of margin. Well, not Georgia. Wisconsin was the closest state in the whole country. When you go by percentage-wise, Trump only won it by 0.86%. And Democrats have been very good in Washington and getting out the base. And also, another thing that's been happening is these suburbs of Milwaukee have been trending to the left. So I think AOC would be able to drive up the base. I don't know if it's going to be enough. So for right now, I would probably put it into the tilt margin. Same with Georgia. Georgia has been like very left trending, but I would still put it into the tilt margin. And then New Hampshire, I think AOC would narrowly win New Hampshire. She would be able to fire up the base, which would be good for her, but she might lose in some of the suburbs. So for right now, I'll put New Hampshire in the tilt Democrat column. So this would be my prediction. J.D. Vance would win 312 electoral votes, which is the same the Trump one, and AOC would win 226. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button down below and subscribe. Of course, comment all your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section down below. Shout out to our member, Diana Barbie. If you would like to become a member, you can join near my channel logo. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.